Have you ever been listening to someone and found yourself saying, what's the point? Lots of speeches begin without telling the audience the topic of the speech. Then what happens? Well, what happens is the audience can feel lost, misled, or sometimes start to become inattentive. When you lose your audience at the beginning of your speech, chances are you will not get them back. They're just not interested. They're not interested from the get-go. And because speeches are for audiences, well, for ourselves, we need to focus on get to the point. For a few years, I was the chief speech coach at our Toastmasters club, Stagemasters. The club's purpose was to prepare speakers for the stage, primarily for TEDx, but also for other stages like Moth, local businesses, office presentations, and sometimes freebies like YMCA or PTA. But they all had the same thing in common. They had an audience, and they were on a stage at that audience. We would have the speaker practice one of the segments of a 20-minute speech. For a 20-minute speech, each segment was about 5 to 7 minutes. So there were 4 segments, and they would share one of those segments with us. So they would get introduced by a mock MC to start the talk. Now, no matter what segment was being delivered, it would contain a core idea statement. Core idea is just a fancy word for get to the point. I think core idea was developed by one of the TEDx hosts at the time, but I never looked it up. I just liked it. It sounded easy to remember. Our club was developed for TEDx speakers, and therefore get to the point, or the core idea, was key to getting on stage. Our feedback was in round-robin format. The audience was other members of the club, and they would listen for the delivery of the core idea. It wasn't the only thing they listened to, but it was a big focus for our club. The speaker would refer to the core idea approximately 3 times. The evaluators would comment on whether that idea was clear, spoken, and varied. Now, let's examine those. Clear is easy. Does the core idea or the get to the point portion of the segment tell you the same thing that the title of the speech did when they were introduced? Now, it's my opinion that it shouldn't be mysterious or missing. This is important because audiences, they don't like it when they find themselves saying, huh? It's terrible. Spoken. Using that idea as a base, the speaker would tell the audience in one sentence, one singular sentence, the core idea of the talk, using simple words and getting the point to match the title. Varied. Now, this is where it gets really creative. The sentence that they used in the introduction should not be the same as the sentence they used in the body or the conclusion. Make them similar, but different. This is the biggest challenge for you in speech writing if you were to focus on get to the point. It's easy to repeat the same sentence over and over. It's not so easy to do a change-up. Change-up in baseball is what pitchers use to keep the batter guessing. change up in speaking is used to keep your audience interested. When I was listening to the speakers in Stagemasters, my attention was on this one factor. Was the core idea clear? Was it clear to me? Did I hear the subtle but interesting different statements? Did it match my expectations? Because remember, I was an audience member too. Here's something you can try. As you're writing your speech, getting ready to present another speech at the club, write 3 distinct different statements that are similar but different and all tie back to your central idea or your core idea. Then write your speech around them. See if you develop a speech with a core idea in mind. Remember, your audience expects you to get to the point. Don't disappoint them. Madam Toastmaster.